Greetings, Inquisitor. I'm pleased you clicked this holocron. This is the week 41 update for the Darth Loquitur account. For any who aren't familiar, I go through weekly updates showing all the progress on my characters. People can follow along and learn from what I'm doing. With that said, let's get in and see what happened in week 41. We are preparing for the upcoming 3v3 Grand Arena season. We did bring the galactic power up enough to lock into Division 9. That's where we plan to be. Relic Nest was the goal for week 41, and we just met that. We put her at gear 13. We'll circle back around and finish up her relic levels here in a minute. Bindo is one of the characters we've identified. He's a good character to have on any Jedi team. You get his Zeta, he threatens to resurrect the whole team, so he becomes an important character to have around for a lot of reasons. So we're going to go ahead and commit to getting him started, level him up to 85, upgrade his gear a little bit, get his skills going, so that we can use him in this upcoming 3v3, and that way we can really make two Jedi teams. We're getting to the point where we have enough Jedi running around that we can have a couple different teams. So here we're just working on his skills, getting him up there, and we do commit the Zeta to that looks pretty bad so that he can resurrect his Jedi friends. We could upgrade him another gear tier, but we are going to go look for other characters first to make sure that we don't use up critical gear for other important characters. Here we get the Sith Marauder to gear 12. He is our next target for Relic, and there's already a bunch of pieces that are available for him to apply. So we're just going to go ahead and apply those as well and get this ramped up and ready to go. We need a few more pieces here for the last bits for his gear 13, and shockingly close. We need 50 pieces for that collector, but other than that, we are very close to being able to relic that character already. Gear 11 onto Darth Maul. That's another one of the requirements for Sith Eternal Emperor. We'll get to gear 9 on the Royal Guard. Again, another one of the C requirements. And it looks like Bindo is still in a position where he can upgrade. And we want to take a look here because green pluses are everywhere, but something is duplicated, so we need to find out what it is that we need. And typically when I need low-level gear like that, I'll go to the guild and make a guild request and start requesting those pieces. I don't want to have to go out and waste a bunch of materials farming them because I need to farm stun guns and things like that. So we'll make some guild requests and get that going. Vandor Chewbacca is another character that we want to put in. He's an intriguing character to pair up with Queel and to make a little 3v3 team that we've worked on. Bindo gets his 5th star. Now we do need to get these characters up and running a little bit better, but we're going to work on Nest's relic next and get those relic levels up. We've got materials in the bank, and it's looking pretty good to go all the way to relic 7. She's a incredibly powerful character at low levels. She falls off a little bit at higher gameplay once people have stuff that can stand up to her or, potentially kill her if she's on defense. But she is a really awesome character, in my opinion. I've gotten a lot of use out of her on my main account. We want to max the tenacity, and to get this tenacity maxed out, we need to get these mods all to 6 dots. You can see each time I 6 dot a mod, it's giving me an additional 2% tenacity off of each one of these mods. There it gets 11% because it's tenacity main stat. Here we get another 1.85%. And here we're just going to get like a 0.62%, so not too big of a deal. And we do have some slicing materials, so we look through here to try to find the best mod with decent stats that we don't mind to go ahead and put a slice onto the mod. This one already has 4 hits in tenacity. If we could get a 5th hit, it would be a maxed out tenacity mod. So we go ahead and give it a try. We don't hit the tenacity, but we end up at 171% tenacity, which is pretty good. At this level, we don't expect a whole lot of opponents to have over 70 tenacity on most of their characters. And even if their characters have 90 tenacity, they still have an 80% chance that their buffs get resisted. So it's a pretty good stat for her. So we're happy with that. Got her all the way to Relic 7. And I'm probably going to use her on defense in Grand Arena, because at this level, especially if I scout my opponent's account and they don't have something that deals with Nest, she'll be really good on defense. We get one more gear tier onto Jolie Bindo. This is the next day. We did manage to acquire some of that gear out of the guild request, so he goes up one more gear tier. For any who aren't familiar with Jolie Bindo's kit, he does get critical avoidance based on the amount of tenacity that he has. So we're looking through our mods here, trying to figure out if we want to do health sets, maybe a speed set, maybe a tenacity set's in there somewhere. So I'm just scouting through my mods, trying to figure out how this is going to look. And the more I look at it, the more I like. I have some just good tenacity mods that look like they're going to do what I want to do. So we put them on there, we level them up, we take a look at the stats. Now, one of the things about Jolie Bindo is he is a pretty slow character. So we haven't put any speed directly onto Jolie Bindo. So with these mod sets, we're looking for some good speed stats. But his speed here, you see, is 133, which is really terrible. So in the end, we go back in here and we look for a different arrow, and we get a little bit more speed on him. That's a crit avoidance arrow that we're looking for. But we decide in the end to go for a speed arrow, because getting his speed up just a little bit is pretty important. 163 is pretty slow still, but it's better than it was. At higher levels, we probably will put a crit avoidance mod on there. So here we're going back. We're working on Vandor Chewbacca again, and we do need this Zeta. This is kind of what makes Vandor Chewbacca a threat. The Zeta allows him the ability to resurrect enemies that get killed. So the enemy pretty much has to target him first. And we're going to put him in a little team where it's not intended to be great, but it's going to be Stormtrooper Han in the lead, Queel to share stats, and Vandor Chewbacca. And basically, it's just going to be really hard to kill Vandor Chewbacca unless you bring in a decent team. So the hope isn't really to get a hold or to win. The hope is for the opponent to look at this team and to not fully understand what it is that the team does and underestimate the durability, bring in a lesser team, like one gear 12 character and some other stuff, and figure they're going to take out the team. But then find out that the team is a lot more durable, perhaps lose a lot of banners, perhaps time out. So really, it's a team that's not easy to understand what it does just by looking at it, and we're hoping to catch some opponents off guard and maybe get some good banners off of that. We are going to go in and take a look at Queel. He had a offense triangle on him, and I really want a health triangle. So we had to search through some mods and change some stuff around, but in the end we got a speed set on him and a health set. He lost a little bit of speed, but he did gain a little bit of health, and we like that better than putting the offense set on him. He doesn't really need the offense set for the team that we're planning on using him for in the Grand Arenas coming up. All right, so week 41, stats in the account, 1.64 million galactic power. We've put on 30,000. Most of that was the relic for Enfys Nest, and of course, starting up Jolie Bindo, create a new character. It always puts a ton of galactic power into your account. That brings us to 10 relics, and the Zeta count goes to 21. Still using the troopers in the squad arena, getting top 100. We're still using Tarkin and the Geos and getting top 5. We do have to use the Negotiator sometimes. Right now, I still feel like Tarkin and Geos is the better offensive fleet, but the Negotiator does hold better on defense. So we're kind of trading off between those two, and I think pretty soon I will have to start investing a little bit more into that Negotiator so that I can continue to maintain top 5 in fleet. Project, Gear 13, the Marauder, and we've been on a 3-week cycle for relicking characters, but as far as he's gotten already. It looks to me like maybe I'll have him next week. So I'm going to go ahead and set the challenge to try to go ahead and get the Marauder to Gear 13 next week. And my plan is to get him to Gear 13 and then park him there. And I know some people are going to say that he's a good Relic character. He can solo teams at Relic levels. And I can agree to all that. But I honestly think that in these Grand Arenas, if we keep him on offense, we're probably going to find teams that are so weak that he can still solo them just at Gear 13 Relic 0. So in order to try to control my galactic power, I'm planning just to put him at Relic 0 and do that for quite a few of the other characters that we have still to finish out. And then hopefully when they're all done, I'll pop them up on Relic levels right when I'm ready to start the C event. And that's a way of managing my galactic power and helping to manage my matchups a little bit in the Grand Arenas. Next week's plan is the same thing we've been doing: Krennic, Mon Mothma, Vandor Chewbacca, BTLB Y-Wing, and then stun guns that we're farming for characters. In this case, I'll probably have to farm that Relic piece, that collector, or the handle, or injector handle, whatever that's called, for the Relic on Marauder. In Fleet Energy, we're going to be doing Scion, Bindo, Zalbar sometimes, and then the Relic materials that we need to finish out the Marauder. Cantina, signal data, and we are working on the Sith Empire Trooper a little bit. For mod energy, farm some health, defense mods, maybe some speed. We're just kind of building our inventory on some of the offsets, some of the defensive offsets, so that when we get C, we might want to put more health mods and defensive style mods onto C. We'll see where that ends up. For the refreshes, I'm doing 3 energy refreshes on mod, regular energy, and fleet energy. And the Cantina I'm doing on Cantina energy and all energy days. Squad Arena, Prestige once per day. Still working on getting Sidious finished out as well when we have extra. Fleet Store, still working on that Grievous and any 501st. And then Zeta materials with fleet energy or fleet store currency that's left over. Everything else we're using to feed the shard shop. So 3v3, it's going to be an interesting season. I think there's lots of things to explore and to test. A couple assumptions. First of all, I assume that I'm going to be matched up against people with much higher galactic power because of the way my account is built. I'm in at the low end. 1.6 million is the bottom end. So I expect to be routinely matched up against people with higher galactic power. But let's see how that goes. I also assume that most people at this galactic power, even if they're higher galactic power than me, are going to be struggling to put together effective teams. We need 7 on defense and 7 on offense and probably a couple spares for cleanup. So putting together 16 3v3 teams is quite a lot at this galactic power. And I imagine that's going to have people are going to have a tendency to want to bring those on offense and try to make a lot of full clears. So I'm going to bring good offensive teams, but I'm going to imagine that I'm also going to see some pretty weak defensive teams. So I do plan to commit to a pretty solid defense myself. I expect to run into some lighter opposition on offense as long as I can get through a few of their biggest defensive teams. I feel like I'll be free to run through them. I feel like we definitely still have an advantage in fleet because we do have the Negotiator fleet and a fully functional Geo fleet under Tarkin aside from that. So some advantages that I'm going to try to leverage at first. And then, of course, as things develop, we'll see where that goes and place more or less on defense as it makes sense. So I do plan to continue to develop GP on most of the C requirements. Likely I'm going to stop at Relic 0 for a lot of these characters. And if I build up the fill teams in the middle, if everybody's going to be stretched thin, but if I say, okay, let's work on these Jedi and make them a better defensive team. Let's work on Mon Mothma and make that a better defensive team. If I do too much of that stuff, it's going to continue to inflate my galactic power in the middle. And remember, your matchups are based on the top X characters for your account, based on the division that you're in. So 14 times 3 is 21 and 21, 42. So top 42 characters for 3v3 at Division 9. So if I put too much more into the characters that are on the lower end of the top 42, it still increases my top 42. So I would rather that any of those increases go into effective characters and relic requirements for the Sea Journey. Now, Division 9 will be my home for quite some time. I was looking at it, and I think I'm averaging about 30 to 35,000 galactic power per week on the account. That means that it'll be about 20 weeks before I get to 2.3 million. So I could be in Division 9 for 4, potentially even 5 full GAC rounds. And when you think about it, that's really quite some time to be in one division. So we're going to have to manage this. We'll learn a lot. I think it'll be good for people to see and to learn. A lot of new players that I know that are watching my videos are somewhere in this range of Division 10, Division 9. So for those coming up on Division 9, it'll give you a good idea what to expect. For those already in Division 9, maybe you can see by the way I'm playing something that will help your account or your matchups in Grand Arena. I hope that's the case. That's going to wrap it up for my recap for week 41. Thank you all for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't done so already to see more videos like this in the future. Join us over on Discord. We've got a great community over there. Hit the like button on the way out. You see Grandma Mod here standing above me. Always remember to farm your mods. And I will see you in the next holocron.